my name's Nathan Taylor, otherwise known as Sockmatician, and this is a tutorial to accompany the Sockmatician's double knitted brioche ebook. This particular video shows you how to work the one needle Kitchener graft in the round. Now, I've already shown you how in a previous video to work the one needle Kitchener graft flat, so the mechanics of that are exactly the same as what you're going to be doing here. It's just that because we're in the round, we want everything to be as seamless as possible, so we want the end of our graft to join as seamlessly as it can to the beginning of our graft. So there's a few things that you'll need to do. You still need to work a full round with just your pearl coloured yarn, building up a row of stitches to match the ones that will be created by the graft, and here's how. To begin with, you just drop your knit coloured yarn, just leave that one handy, and the knit coloured yarn in my case is the brown one, and my pearl coloured yarn is the blue. If it's not there already, take it to the back of the work going between the two needles. Mine already is. Step one is slip one stitch with its yarn over purlwise from the left needle to the right. Step two, bring the pearl coloured yarn to the front of the work, coming between the two needles. Step three, purl the next stitch with its yarn over, going to both strands together like that. And step four, take your pearl coloured yarn to the back of the work, going between the two needles. Then you keep working steps 1 to 4 until the round is complete. And I'm going to do that now. You can join me when I get to the end of the round and we're ready to move on to the next section. Slip 1, yarn to the front, purl, yarn to the back. Slip 1, yarn to the front, purl, yarn to the back. See you in a moment. Here I am then just 2 stitches away from the end of my round. Steps 1 to 4, one more time, and then slip 1, yarn to the front. And look at this, it's really important to make sure that that last yarn over that last purl stitch doesn't get lost the way mine was there. So you want to make sure it's still over the top of that needle so you can purl into the yarn over and the stitch together and take the yarn to the back of the work like that. At this point you can break your pearl coloured yarn, leaving enough of a tail for weaving in. I'm not going to do that now just because I want to reuse this yarn later on. At this point you also want to break your knit coloured yarn, and I am going to have to do that, otherwise I won't be able to show you what to do. For the graft itself, you need to make sure that the tail is equal to the length of about 4 or 5 times the circumference of your project, because we want to make sure we've got enough to work with. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't have to be exact, but that should do it there. And then you want to thread your knit coloured yarn onto a tapestry needle. And there we are, ready to go. The other thing you'll need for this are 2 little clippy markers here, the kind of that you can clip onto a stitch rather than slip onto your needle. And I've got 2 like that. So the first one gets attached to the first stitch of the round with its yarn over. So once I organise my needles ready for working, I'm going to attach the first marker to the first stitch with its yarn over there like that. This is just for identification purposes because we're going to need to identify these stitches when we get back, but we will already have slipped them off the end of the needle as we work past them, so we're going to make sure we can identify them later on. The second marker gets attached to the second stitch. Now that one hasn't got a yarn over anymore because we've already worked that one on the previous purl round. It can be a little tricky to get in there. So I've got these 2 stitches are now marked with the markers, and pop one of those markers to the back. Picking up the tapestry needle then. First thing to do for the graft itself is step 1, slip the first stitch with its yarn over knitwise from the left needle onto the tapestry needle. You'll notice there's no setup for working in the round. The setup is only because we need to pass through every stitch twice, and at the end of the row we need to engineer that because we're not coming back to it on the next round. But here, working in the round, we're going to go through this stitch once and then through the next stitch once, and then the second time will happen at the end of the round when we come back to it, and that's why we've identified the stitches with the markers. So step one, as I say, is slip the first stitch with its yarn over knitwise from the left needle onto the tapestry needle. Then you insert the tip of the tapestry needle purlwise into the front of what is now the second stitch with its yarn over on the left needle and pull through. And that looks like that. At the beginning here, I'm going to have lots of fun and games. Sorry about the camera shake. Lots of fun and games because I've got a lot of yarn here to pull through every time, but that's not too much of a problem. Step 3, slip what is now the first stitch on the needle, this blue one here. It has no yarn over, none of my purl stitches do. Purlwise from the left needle onto the tapestry needle like that. And step 4, take the tapestry needle behind the work, insert the tip of it between the first stitch with its yarn over and the second stitch without, coming towards you like that. Then swing the point of the tapestry needle around so you can insert it knitwise into the second stitch there, like so, and pull through. That's the graft itself. You're probably already familiar with that from working it flat. And you keep working steps 1 to 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, like so, all the way around until you get to the end here. So I'm going to take a moment to do that now, and you can join me when I'm nearly done. I'm just approaching the halfway mark now, and I'm just going to pop back in to show you how I deal with going around the corner, because, oops, tangled up around my needle there, because at one point you're not going to have all the stitches you need where you need them on the needle in order to make the movements. So when I've got one pair of stitches left on the needle, one with a yarn over and one without, at that point I just pull the needle through until the cable pops like that. Then those stitches which haven't yet been worked are next to the stitches beyond them, and that means I can continue doing all the things I need. Here I am, almost back where we started, and you can see I wildly overestimated how much yarn I would need, but it's better to have too much than too little. I've got 2 pairs of stitches left, and you want to keep going like this until you're left with just 1 pair of stitches left on the needle. 1 knit stitch with a yarn over and 1 purl stitch without, and that is where I am now. So we now need to get these marked stitches back onto the needle, and the easiest way I've found to do that is actually to pull the left needle all the way through until those stitches are at the other end of it. Then you can pull up on the first marked stitch like that and just slide the stitch and the yarn over onto the needle, and you can take the marker off like that, and then do the same with the second marked stitch as well. Pull it up and then just slide the needle into it and slip the marker off. Then all you need to do is slide those 4 stitches back to the other end of the circular needle and continue working the steps as you have been. So slip 1 knitwise onto the tapestry needle and then go in purlwise to the second stitch there. And then repeat steps 3 and 4 there as well. You'll be very familiar with how that works by this point in the game, I'm sure. And at this point, there's nothing left to do. I've just worked once more into that stitch and that stitch, which means they have been now worked into twice. So you can just take that needle out. Give everything a nice little pull. All of those stitches are nice and safe. Nothing's going to go anywhere. And your cast off edge, your bind off edge, is beautiful like that, looking for all the world very similar to your cast on tubular edge like that. Once you've broken your yarns and woven in all your ends, you've got the perfect circular Kitchener graft. And that's all you need to know about the one needle Kitchener graft worked in the round. Zip!